Welcome back to the table. Today we decided it was time we talked a little bit about the Mythic situation.
The Mythic situation.
The Mythic situation.
As it will be known as.
We don't want to, and we're not going to dive into what has happened as much as we want to kind of talk about what the lasting legacy and impact is going to be on crowdfunding in general. And I'd love to hear back from a lot of you watching too as to how much this makes you gun shy about crowdfunding in general, or do you think it is still just a case by case where you're like, no, this is a reputable, strong company. I've backed with them a lot. I feel very comfortable doing this. Or I can imagine there's a lot of people out there who back this, feel like they've gotten burnt. If you got burnt to the tune of a few $100s, you're gonna. I would feel gun shy no matter what I'm pledging.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's wrapped up in this. I mean, it's beyond just that, because Mythic did start off as one of those reputable companies that people would say, oh yeah, if it's Mythic, I'm going to back it. I know I'm going to get a good product. For those who don't know or aren't aware, just to give the very brief, because we don't want to speculate on what happened. A lot happened behind closed doors, but basically Mythic was unable to fulfill their most recent Kickstarters. Again, the games that people did back, and this is, those big miniatures games, the all-ins could be several $100s.
A lot of money, not to mention, this was also kind of in and around the pandemic, so there was a lot of, not just Mythic, but a lot of companies, including Mythic, coming back to backers saying,
hey, I forgot they did ask for quite a bit more.
We need more money for the shipping, and that did happen on some of these projects that still haven't delivered. So there's people not only in on those, they've paid more money in shipping, and now, and again, we don't know all of the details, but CMON has picked some of this stuff up, but they're not exactly fulfilling it. Now, I would say none of this is on CMON.
CMON's doing...
They don't have to do any of this. They're helping out, but they've come in and I think they're offering like the base game of Hell, but not all of the expansions and things like that.
They're not offering all. They're not going to produce everything that was promised as part of the Kickstarter. But the fact that they are producing
anything,
the base game. But what's got people torn too is that CMON is coming in and they're like, we don't really love everything about this game, so we're going to do our own development pass as well. And so effectively what we might get at the end of this is a CMON version of Hell that is very different from potentially what was offered, which again has some people debating whether or not they want to, actually get their game or not. But it's an interesting situation, and like you said, sure, you might get the game years later. It's maybe a different game than you expected.
Probably have to pay more money.
You may have to pay more because they did say you're going to have to pay shipping again.
They're not going to do all of this for free. Again, a lot of this is behind closed doors. I don't know the terms of this. I got to say though, CMON, whoever, if I'm the company, I don't know that I'm going to say, hey, we'll pick up the ball and run with it, because I think a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth with the games themselves.
Definitely. Obviously, CMON saw something here, and I was one of the few people I think that actually got to play Hell. Back when it was
I played
in the prototype.
We played Anister too.
And so I think there must have been something here that CMON said. I guarantee, and maybe I shouldn't guarantee this, but I don't think they just came in on the good graces and said, we're doing this just for the backers. I think that they saw that this product lines up with some of what they have.
Sure.
And they thought this could be something that really adds to our library, and they could sell this, right? And they're giving it to all the people that backed originally, which is a nice thing to do. I mean, they're not charging, as far as I know, outside of having to pay shipping on the new version of the game. So, yeah, like you said earlier, I think CMON's hands are clean in this situation.
Yeah, I think there was we might not have all the details right, but I think there was a pre-existing relationship there too, because CMON had already picked up, I think, some of their games prior.
Mythic had already started to sell off some of their IPs,
but
because they wanted to fund the production of the
they
game.
wanted to finish Darkest Dungeon, Anister, and Hell.
And Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, that's right, that too. And now they've come to the point where I don't know this officially, but I think it's safe to say that Mythic is probably no more. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be running to the next Mythic campaign and saying, I'm a day one backer.
No, I think this is the death nail in the coffin. I mean, this is CMON buying out the last of, I think, what Mythic even owns.
Yeah, and we don't want to speculate too much. I do want to say this, though, because we did some content and we did work with them. I will point out, a lot of the people we worked with at Mythic also left Mythic some time ago. So I don't know what kind of skeleton crew is left there.
I think that was a big problem. And again, I'm fighting the urge to speculate at all, because we really do not know. But they had a lot of employees leave. Of course, the pandemic happened. Some stuff happened behind the scenes that ultimately led to them not being able to produce. Now, you had posed a question to the audience, and I guess to us as well, as far as like does this increase or decrease your confidence? And I think this is a weird one to answer because there have been a lot of projects over the past 20 years of Kickstarter existing or 15 years or whatever.
Oh.
There have been a lot of projects that have just never delivered. And we've seen backers out to the tune of like $500-$600 on a project.
Oh,
and yet,
board games, all sorts. Video games are even worse.
Video games.
Vaporware all over the place.
Right, and even like, what, did that cooler ever come out? I don't know. There's a lot of projects on Kickstarter that can burn you. And I know we talk about this. A lot of people do see it as an investment in the company. And sometimes that investment doesn't pay off. But when it's a board game, we're so used to, people have a different perspective on it's just a board game. Like, they should have been able to make this game happen.
Well, plus there are so many board games that are delivered through Kickstarter and crowdfunding in general these days that we have so many different data points to go, well, they did it. This is how all of these worked, and it went really smoothly.
Yeah.
And no one talks so much about how smoothly a Kickstarter ever runs.
And listen, sometimes there was somebody that they released 6 months early.
It's an anomaly.
It happens.
But there are other sort of comparison points, I guess is what I'm getting at. And this is sort of one end of the spectrum, obviously, where you haven't delivered, you've asked for more money. And I don't know if they even produce the content. So it is, I think in a lot of people's minds, they're thinking well, that's a lot of money to have taken in. And what have they done with all that money?
That's the question of the day that we're not going to speculate on. But people on Facebook, if you go on,
we just did a little bit.
If you go on the updates, if you go on Facebook, that is the number one question. Is well, what did happen? Maybe they used it to, and we've seen this in other companies. Unfortunately, they have to run a new Kickstarter to fund the last one. We know that they had some production problems on Darkest Dungeon, so it's possible, whatever. But the point being, and this is the question I want to pose, the fact that CMON was able to swoop in and negotiate whatever deal and still deliver the games, does that feel almost like you have a little bit of a safety net for some of these big games? If they don't deliver, you might be able to say, well, maybe CMON or another big company will come in and I will still get my game.
Ooh, I would never bet on that. Personally,
I'm just curious.
I would never factor that into oh yeah, even if this goes completely into the fan, maybe someone will help. Maybe there'll be a white knight will come in and save the day. Never. I don't back a lot, but I will say this. This seems like rudimentary advice. Buyer beware. Do your research.
Well, sure.
Don't go crazy backing every single giant thing that comes out.
Mythic had a great track record.
They had a pretty good track record up until then.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know everything that was going on behind the scenes. But I think when like you said, a company like CMON comes in, CMON has a very good track record. They've done tons of games like this.
They do the multiple Kickstarters a year and pretty much deliver all of them on time.
They do. The pandemic was rough, and there was complaints from backers across the board on all crowdfunding then. But generally speaking, I think we can look at a few companies and go, they nail it. CMON nails it. Have they asked for more shipping? I think they have in the past, again, during the pandemic. But I think they've got that down now, and now they just say, shipping is this, right from the get-go. It's a lot. Awaken Realms is another one who kind of nails it.
They have a great track record. Again, that's a 5-star track record with Awaken Realms.
Again, this is back to sort of those comparison points. But given all of that, I do want to know, do you feel nervous when you're backing anything? I just backed something for the first time in a long time. I don't back a lot, but I backed Altered.
Altered is a game you can look at and you can be like, I would be significantly surprised if that game was delayed or canceled
to some degree, there's a lot of weird tech behind what they're doing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So there is some stuff. There's
a little
pioneering stuff going on. So there's that, but it's not a lot of miniature. It's cards at the end of the day.
Right, it's not 20 boxes of a board game that with the miniatures, the price to produce them has gone up. I don't know if the days of those giant campaigns are done. Maybe.
No.
We've got games like Dante coming up, which is going to be another...
Well, and any Awaken Realms game.
Any Awaken Realms. CMON Zombicide, Marvel Zombicide came with So we are still getting those.
I don't think we're in...
I wonder if people are going to be willing, or you could tell us this in the comments below, if you're going to be willing to risk something that big on a first-time publisher. Not that Mythic was, but if you see a first time and they're promising, 500 miniatures in 10 boxes, and it's their first thing they've ever run, I might be pretty wary of that.
I can tell you, I've always been wary of that. If they don't have any reputation and it's someone who's trying to bite off hey, we're a new publisher that can do what CMON and Awaken Realms does.
We've seen it work.
Yeah, but I'm personally going to let them get two or so under
Sure.
their belt before
I'll come
like,
back for the expansion and the reprint.
Yeah, sure. They'll do it.
Yeah.
They'll do it as soon as that one delivers. They'll have another campaign and do that. But yeah, we just wanted to raise this question kind of. I'd love to hear, you know what? I'd love to hear from. If you are one of the people out there who backed some of these Mythic, if you backed Hell, if you backed Anastair, and you know the details of how you felt like you were burnt, I might regret this, but please get down in the comments below because I want to hear some of that
venting session.
I want to hear some of that firsthand. It's one thing to see on social media people posting sound bites of this and that, but I really would like to hear from someone saying, well, here's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, keep it family friendly.
Yeah, absolutely do. Please keep it family friendly.
I mean, I'd rather hear from a back, because I know there's multiple sides to every story, and I know, and again, and we've said this on the channel before, money is even subjective. Somebody might not mind losing $100, where losing $100 for somebody else is crushing. So, like, I think you're going to have...
I never want to lose $100.
Well, I never want to lose
I'm going to go on the
any money.
record right now and not lose any money.
I never want to lose, but I think people that have gone out there and been like, it's just it's just $200. Or remember that's not the case for everybody. Not everybody can say that.
For sure. Well, especially with these types of campaigns, because it can be even more than a couple $100.
Right,
it
sure,
can be
absolutely.
a few $100.
Yeah.
But anyway, let us know in the comments below what you think. And like I said, if you have some personal experience on this topic specifically, please let us know. Yeah. Until next time, though, and this may sound weird to say, make sure everyone has fun at the table, no matter what game you're playing, and we'll see you then.
Bye.